Yes, sir. One, two, three, four. Hey. Hi, Portland. Hi, world. Hi, Portland.
Hi, NetSpace.
Hi, NetSpace.
Hi, this is PDX.
So, if you're hearing this, it's your lucky day. Might even be your lucky week, month, or year because you're listening to the first podcast for This Is PDX
Woohoo!
here in Portland. My name's Jared. I'm here with Faris, who is an awesome photographer. He is the owner of NetSpace and just an all-around cool dude. And we're doing this thing called a podcast for Portland. And I just feel like Portland needs to know what's going on. So kind of give everyone an idea what we're going to do today is talk about Portland, where we see the temperature of Portland being, just like every city. COVID happened. And so we're just trying to help Portland, show the good side of Portland, do good things for the businesses, drive some traffic down here to downtown Broadway, the core of Portland. And like I tell everybody every day, Portland's not the brick and mortar. Portland's the people that live here, and the people are awesome. We've got amazing artists, business people, creatives, startups. And Faris is just one of those people that has found himself in the middle of everything. So, Faris, please say hello.
Hello, Jared.
So I'm glad that you're here with me today. And I'm glad that we're here at NetSpace taking advantage of the podcast studio that is here. What has it been, 3 years? How long has it been since this has actually been used as a podcast studio?
Well, it's been around. It gets occasional usage every once in a while, but I think that you are kind of kicking off something that I hope is a lot more regular. And I'm looking to see what comes out of this.
Yeah, I'm really excited. I believe the people in Portland need to know what's going on in Portland. You know, we do a lot of scrolling on Instagram or TikTok or all of these different places, and it's just really easy to get snippets of things and maybe not totally understand why or what's the reason behind a lot of stuff that happens in Portland. Purchasing the Moda Center. So, you know, people might wonder why that's a thing. So there's a lot of stuff to talk about. And the podcast studio we're in has been used by other people. And I am just really excited to peel back the onion a little bit for what's going on in Portland so people can get some understanding of what's going on here with This Is PDX, the people that have gathered around us here at NetSpace to do good things for Portland. So you have been here since what, 8 years ago, 9 years ago? Tell me a little bit about that.
Oh, it's been a journey. So 8-9 years ago, I was just starting my own personal entrepreneurial journey. Straight out of OSU, I had a year or two, no, 2 to 3 years of traditional agency experience overseas, working with corporate banking and kind of creating marketing campaigns around their financial products, targeted at a variety of different cultures and religions and audiences, peoples. And we came back to Portland and tried to start a marketing agency. And I remember doing a Craigslist post. Hey, we'll do free video for 3 to 4 companies so we can build a portfolio. and somebody hit me up and said, "Hey, would you like to do a video at Netspace?" I had never heard of Netspace, never been in Netspace.
And you were gonna make like $1 million, right? That year.
That
That's
was the
rumor.
idea. That was the idea. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna make $1 million through photography and video and media. How? Not a clue. But I was gonna do it.
Yeah, yeah.
So showed up to Netspace to shoot a video, and I just fell in love with the space, with the views, with the people that were milling about, doing stuff, and it just felt like everyone was on that journey of entrepreneurship, self-development, and growth, and I was just like, we need to be here. And so I spoke to the owners at that time, Mark Grimes and Brandon Kennedy, I think was his name. And the rest is history. I've been here since.
So you're straight out of college and had traveled some. And your experience with like videography and all of that, were you like directing stuff? What, like you were getting new into media? Tell me a little bit about that.
Oh, so my uncle was creating his agency, and he had locked down a couple of those bigger corporate clients. Maybank, which you see on almost every Formula One car, was one of his clients based in Malaysia. And the way it worked is he was growing as the client was giving them more and more work. And so he started with an art direction team, and that quickly led into a photo studio, and then that turned into video production, and that turned into copywriting and just like print logistics and everything. So I
Wow.
was given this crazy unique opportunity. As he built a new team, he would put me in that team, and he would tell everyone that was on that team, treat this dude like shit. Just because he's my nephew does not mean he gets any sort of special treatment. It just work his way up or make him work his way up. And it was funny because whenever I got good enough to be able to lead a team and understand like how that whole department operated, he'd be like, all right, it's time to switch. Moving on.
Which I would say you've pulled maybe like some of that into Netspace as far as like leadership and like learning things quickly and implementing things and yeah, that's pretty awesome. I know at Netspace, like you and I hang out quite a bit. You happen to be on the thisispdx.or on Instagram creative team. I have always appreciated your eye for photography when it comes to food and items, and you just tend to ask questions that maybe I haven't thought of, and that's part of the joy of rubbing shoulders with people in a professional environment like Netspace and the collaborative room that we've kind of put together. It makes it pretty special. We're able to, expedite our skill sets and hopefully do some pretty amazing things for Portland. I remember arriving to Netspace my first time and kind of, being blown away by the view of Mount St. Helens and the Broadway and all of that, seeing Jackson Tower. But more than that, it was a group of people getting together, and I can't remember the post exactly. It was on Meetup. Something about creatives and working together. Do you remember how it was phrased?
It was like, I think it was like creative day, come work at, or creatives come for co-working day, or something like that. That felt like a century ago compared to everything we've been working on. That felt like a century
So
ago.
true. Yeah. So I found myself sitting at the conference table in the main part of our floor here, and there's a guy walking around with a camera, and all he's doing is just taking pictures out of the windows. And I'm like, this guy's pretty interesting. And then there's, which turns out to be Isaiah. Isaiah has become a pretty integral part of the collaboration room with This is PDX. But
And we also had
Yeah.
this well-dressed gentleman that was asking way too many pointed questions.
yeah,
And that was Ripley.
that was Ripley. Yeah, he was dressed up pretty good. Turns out he's a man of many talents. And I have always had jokingly early on said he's like a chameleon. And because he can kind of fit into any people group. And he's just a really good guy. He's a leader in his own right. He definitely embraces different challenges. He's a painter. He's a sewer. He's a drummer and an event management type guy. He likes to say everything's an event, which it is.
He is not wrong.
So, I ended up meeting some people in that initial meeting, and we're all sitting there at the table, and there was like, I don't know, maybe 25 people that day showed up, and then we're in and out over a course of a few hours. Does that sound about right? Yeah. And it's hard to sit in the downtown core of Portland and not have a conversation about, at least from a creative mind, how do we help Portland? So, yeah, we started asking those questions, like, where are we now? Like, how can we help? And it was pretty clear that Portland maybe had a messaging issue, and the WTF Portland on Instagram maybe had been picked up too much in the national media and around the United States and the globe, and everybody started thinking that that's what Portland was. Portland's not that all the time. Does it happen here? Yeah. But here's the deal, in my opinion, and I believe it to be true, that most cities have the same problems that we have here in Portland. It's just they've maybe figured out the messaging a little bit better than Portland has. So out of that meeting, I was just like, man, can we do something that affects the positivity in Portland, maybe gives Portland a little bit of its pride back, growing up here and then moving away for 10 years and then coming back and seeing the drastic differences. I just really wanted to help, and so I just feel like a really blessed guy to be able to be in this environment and to be able to help Portland, help Ned Space, and drive traffic back down here. I just think it's going to be a pretty amazing thing.
Jared, I actually have a couple questions for you. And before we go into Portland, I actually want to kind of continue that conversation we had about the event. When I got us all together, I had a very vague idea as to how to incentivize and collect and nurture a group of creatives. I didn't know what the business model looked like. I didn't know any of that type of stuff. And from there until now, like, there's been a ton of growth, a ton of development, a ton of everyone kind of taking on leadership roles in various ways and utilizing their skill sets and their experiences, and just trying to figure out how we can all work together in a way that's sustainable. So I'm curious, like, compared to what we talked about then, which I barely even remember, what does a collaborative office or collab room mean to you? And how does that help impact? Like, how does that fit into the bigger perspective of how this is PDX and how NetSpace and how all our allies can use the room to kind of help themselves or help the city?
So that's a pretty big question, and I find myself in this really cool position where I sit in the collaboration office. I have my little corner where I've got all the stuff that I need and to get stuff done. And yeah, I own my own business, but I'm also in a place where I am leading other creatives in a way that is something I never thought I would be doing. I mean, I've always embraced helping others and I love seeing people succeed. And that collaboration with others and making each other better business people and better human beings is the hope. that can be a model that can spread to other collaboration offices, that it can be something that's a culture here at NetSpace, but maybe, just maybe, we can affect the culture of Portland where we can bring people together and actually have conversations and make each other better because we're being open and honest and having real conversations. But out of that, I would say a byproduct of being here and being in that office, it allows me to talk to people that I would never normally interact with. And it's all about connections and who knows what and who and where. Giving yourself the opportunity to interact with people like I have at NetSpace and in the collab office, it's just game changing for me. Like my business, my growth as a person in business and personally, like I'm leading the Tuesday meetings and we're talking about, do you want to be a leader or do you want to be a follower? And, being a leader is not always easy, but at least you're in control of your future when you're a leader. I just know that there's so many positive things that have come out of This is PDX group, which is photo, video, and design people. I'm really excited about the future of where we're going. One of those things is the podcast studio that started today. So
First episode.
and hopefully I answered your question because it's such a deep thing for me. I'm a street photographer in Portland, 47 Knuckles on Instagram, but even that, I don't even talk about that as much as I used to because now I'm always talking about this is pdx.or on Instagram because it's not just about me, it's about Portland and the people in it and the people that are in the collaboration room, which help me achieve this amazing thing. Because it is a big, when you and I have talked to people about the vision behind This is PDX, some people say, well, that's a huge undertaking. Well, yeah, it is. I could never do this alone. Like there's so many things to do that it's just physically impossible. I only have 24 hours in a day, and I do plan on sleeping at least 6 of those. Unlike Faris, guys, I'm just telling you, this guy here, the 2 a.m., 3 a.m. text messages. Did I? Oh, too soon. Sorry.
So here's how I see it. All right, and most people are gonna think I'm absolutely nuts, but if you need more days, all you gotta do is take the 7 days we have and split it, and now you have 14 days. And then it's just a matter of like refactoring everything. And so 8 a.m. till 3 p.m. is one shift, right? And then you get like a 2-hour, 3-hour nap before the 8 a.m. bit. And then you do a 8 p.m. to 3 a.m. shift. And now all of a sudden you have 2 shifts. If you find a way to have a power nap in between both those shifts, man, that's all the sleep you need.
My power nap is like 6 hours long. I'm glad it works for you, buddy. Oh,
Coffee and Red Bull.
yeah, coffee and Red Bull. Oh man. So yeah, I mean, I hope I answer your question because I want, I can really see how what, and you and I have talked about a lot of stuff as far as like structure and where we envision this whole thing going, and the the people that we interact with, the business community, the awesome artists that come through Ned Space. It's such a joy to see. Well, let me just start by saying the light when we're having conversations with these people, like you can see the shift in their positivity when we talk about what we want to do for Portland, and that is kind of like drives me for the next day. I don't know if
Yeah.
that does anything for you, but like literally we can have people come into the main conference room and we'll sit down and it's almost like they've been beaten up by society.
Yep. Yep.
And through conversation, by the time they're done and we're done, they leave. It's so awesome to see the smiles and like they're encouraged. And Ripley, who's on our team, he's one of those guys. Like he was ready to go. He was like ready to go to another state. He was done, and then he found some like-minded people that wanted to do good things for Portland, and all of a sudden it's like, man, I feel like I found another family. So I don't know. Maybe I'm weird on that front, but I think that that's part of the energy that I get from this place is just that positivity and seeing people change just like almost in front of our eyes. I think it's pretty cool.
Yep. Yep. For me, like when I see these people and when we engage with them, the first thing I see in their eyes when we say what we're doing is just utter disbelief and just like almost cynicism. And then they hear all the bits and pieces and they realize it's just a bunch of people working on a bunch of small problems that collectively equate to solving a bigger problem.
Yeah.
And the fact that it isn't about having a crazy like skill set or a huge network. It's more so about just showing up and figuring out what do you have an overabundance in and how can you help and contribute and putting that out there and allowing others to harness that energy and just working together to kind of make it happen.
Yeah.
And when they see that, that's when the light goes on and they're just like, oh snap crackle pop, like I see what you're doing, I feel your vibe, like this is amazing, how can I help?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And so what? We've been how many months ago was that first meeting?
February, like
February.
mid-February, I think.
And we're in August now. So yeah, it's been a minute. One moment later. Yeah. Okay. Just so you all know, I did not hit that button. That
It was
was
all me.
not me.
Jared showed it to me before the start of the show and I was like, I'm waiting.
So you spent probably almost a month. There's this little thing on a Notion document. It's called a love letter. It's a love letter to Portland. So we'll figure out how to get in the show notes or something like that. We'll get a link in there and people can read it. But there's so much going on here at Ned Space. I would wonder, Mr. Faris, can in like 4 or 5 minutes, are you able? Let's do 4 minutes. Let's see if we can do that. Like the Cliff Notes version. Like you went to college. What's the what's the Cliff Notes version of the love letter?
I wish we had ChatGPT back in the day.
Oh man.
College would have been so much easier. So long story short, the messaging behind that is just a systemic problem that I've seen in Portland over the years. We're all divided. We all kind of stay within our own cliques, and we form alliances with networks and organizations and people that share similar values, and everyone else is kind of left outside. And this, like, I saw this in high school. I mean, like high school cliques, like I think everyone has, but it's a completely different thing to see it in the real world, and to see organizations and professional networks kind of act like this. And the thing is pre-COVID, cool. Like everything was going great. Like we didn't like this was one of those things that didn't need to be fixed. Like it was we got away with doing that. But times have changed. Portland has gone through a massive change. People no longer are incentivized to meet in the center of town. Their suburbs have been developed over the past 3 years to have all the infrastructure that downtown used to have, used to be known for. And so we are, and with social media and like just the push for digital transformation through COVID, like we've gotten into a world where we don't need to leave our neighborhoods. We don't need to really go anywhere. We can be connected to very specific communities and kind of work inside those communities. And our community leaders, that they try to enable connections to other communities, but it's not the first go-to thing that they do.
Yeah.
And we just lack the infrastructure and the push to take everyday folk and to turn them into problem solvers. Like there's this weird notion that the government is going to save us and we just have to give them enough time, or that the market will reach equilibrium.
Yeah.
And that will it's just a matter of time. But nobody knows what market equilibrium is. Like that could be everyone's homeless and we're all on the street, and
Yeah.
there's only like a select few that have homes. Like
Yeah.
we like nobody knows any of these things. Is basically what I'm trying
That
to
theory
say.
of rock bottom, right? It's like one person who deals with substance abuse has a different rock bottom than another. So yeah, it's tough to know.
Yeah. So the love letter was I wrote it because I wanted to share that viewpoint with anyone that interacts with us as NetSpace and other community leaders and builders in our space. It wasn't like meant as an attack or anything like that. It was just sharing a viewpoint and just seeing it as an outsider. I've lived in Portland my entire life, but I've been raised everywhere else too. So
Yeah.
I've always been that outsider. I look at the world through like an anthropological view or lens. And so this was just me kind of seeing these problems and be like, hey, like how do we fix them?
Yeah.
How do we kind of unite together? How do we work together? How do we grow together? And kind of showing this to elicit interest, and find who's on board and who wants to kind of work together and who sees the vision and says, hey, I want to be a part of this. And then, like I said earlier, just figuring out how to work together and how to align all of us to make a better Portland.
That's really awesome. I'll definitely get the love letter link.
Was that
so
4
people
minutes?
can see it. Yeah, it was pretty close actually. I'm pretty impressed. Let's transition a little bit. There's a lot going on in Portland, not just cool stuff at NetSpace. So part
NetSpace is the center of the world and the center of the universe, and nothing else matters.
Nothing that matters. Yeah, like when you walk in here, you're actually weightless because everything's rotating around us.
Exactly.
Right. Sarcasm. There's a lot going on in Portland. There's a lot going on in every city. So there's part of the formatting we want to do with this podcast show is talk about maybe one or two items or three globally, regionally, and locally. Whether that be something really cool or just factual based stuff. I was a little. Let me look here. There was an article. It hit the news. This was back Yeah, the Moda Center. Like, I grew up going to the Rose Garden originally. I might be showing my age right now. May not be a good idea. I was going to the Rose Garden, and that's where the Blazers won the one and only championship for the NBA. And then they built the Moda Center, and that was the cool hip place. And I had no idea that it hasn't been updated or renovated or anything since it was built. Um, and so the city says right here, the city agrees to buy Moda Center land for 7.13 million, and plans a major renovation. So,
First of all, is
yeah,
that it? Like,
well,
you just need $7 million to buy the Moda Center.
uh, well, here, so this will answer some of the questions. I was a little surprised, like that's all, but there's a lot going on, and I just was like kind of shocked that the city would do that. But then, I wasn't paying attention for the last few years. COVID happened, and I had COVID. And oh, by the way, COVID does affect your smell. Like my wife was saying the other night, we like to leave the window open when we sleep. And she's like, "Did you smell that skunk last night?" I guess there was a skunk outside the door or outside the window. And I'm like, "No, I didn't smell it at all." So I guess there is some positive things when it comes to COVID, like the extreme crazy smells. I don't really smell them anymore, but
Yeah, there's no
yeah.
more need to smell your upper lip.
Yeah, or there you go. Oh, so but in this article it says that the city's been looking at buying doing this for the past 20 years, which is kind of crazy to me. With the promise of major renovations coming to the Moda Center, the Blazers and the city are working on a long-term agreement that would keep the team in Portland for 20 or more years. So that's good for like the economy and just morale and all of that good stuff. And it's been a while since I've been to the Moda Center, but I know 20 years ago it was pretty cool. I've aged 20 years. Maybe I'm not so cool.
No,
But,
I think I went there when I was like 15 for a Blazers game, and
yeah.
it's been a minute.
Yeah. I was, I think the last Blazer game I went to, was it Clyde the Glide, Drexler? I mean, there was all the, back in the day. But yeah, transferring the Motor Center into city ownership is a key financial component of the new arena operating lease and provides important property tax benefits to the operators. The Rose Quarter supports 6,000 jobs and has an estimated economic output of more than 600 million per year. So I would say maybe it's a good idea to keep the Blazers in Portland because of just the revenue generating aspect.
Yup.
The city will receive the Moda Center for $1.
Wow.
And purchase.
I'll pay $2.
Yeah, $2. I'll just I'll match that and I'll raise you $1. So there you go.
That's way too much money, bro.
Too much money. And they're going to purchase the land within the Moda Center for $7.13 million. The funding for these purchases will come from the city's spectator, venues, and visitors activities funds. So that was one of my things. It's like, okay,
They have
how are we
$7
paying for
million
this?
in the bank in that account.
Evidently. So we'll find out. A press release issued by Mayor Ted Wheeler on August 2nd said that the bridge management with the Blazers will help improve the fan experience at Oregon's largest gathering place and help transform the city historic Albina neighborhood. Investing revenue generated by the Moda Center and the Rose Quarter back into the Moda Center will help maintain its competitive position in the NBA, improve the fan experience, and make it competitive for more high-profile concerts and tourism events in the Pacific Northwest. Wheeler's statement reads, a major MODA center renovation will also be a centerpiece for revitalizing the Rose Quarter and the Lower Albina neighborhood within a vibrant transformational area and support community-led efforts to restore the Black community. That's a lot, because I know just from what I've been hearing from other people, this could potentially have a really good positive effect on the Albina neighborhood that is currently looking to take back, to put in place something that is really important to that neighborhood, to that community. And I'm actually really excited about it. I don't know exactly what the end game is going to be. I'd love to do some more research on this and come back on another episode and maybe elaborate a little bit more, but maybe you can educate me a little bit.
So, Albina Vision Trust is the organization that you were talking about, and they have been given money by a variety of sources, and the goal is to take back that whole district. As Portland grew and just kind of like expanded outside of its original like zone, I guess, like area.
Yeah. City plan.
Yeah, the city plan. And so Albina Vision Trust right now is trying to take back that land as it becomes available, as it becomes available for purchase. They want to take over that land and redefine its purpose and make spaces that are open for African American and Black communities, places for them to live, for them to grow, build their own culture, and kind of be that united community that they once were.
I think it's great, actually, how we're going to see that whole area change a little bit. Like somebody was telling me, maybe I heard it on the news. I like to listen to the news when I drive into work or take the Max into work. The Albina, did you see they were talking about potentially covering part of I-5? Like the freeway, because the freeway cut through part of that neighborhood, and that's part of the issue. Did you see that?
No.
So there's like south of the Moda Center where how I-5 cuts through that part of town. They're thinking about actually putting a cap on that. Like there's a part of up in Seattle where you actually drive under one of the big, huge buildings. Like there's a whole tunnel system where the freeway goes under the city.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
So they're covering that area and then turning that into usable land.
Usable land and places for people to live, to have that community back in those spaces where it was kind of bulldozed and the freeway was put in. Portland's got a lot of things going on. One of them is the Moda Center, that whole thing. I think that impacts Portland on so many levels that people don't really realize. So I just really wanted to at least cover that. What have you heard? Anything going on in local Portland that it was raining last week, so no fires? Well, there might be a fire or two, but we went from like 34 fires in Oregon to like 1 or 2 now. So hopefully we're done with that.
All I know is every single time I turn on the news, they talk about the elections.
Yeah.
And I just, no.
That's why here at NetSpace, at least in our environment, we're purposeful in just having a neutral ground. It's like the UN of spaces where you can just, nobody has an agenda. So
Hashtag Wakanda forever.
no, whatever, man. uh, I love everyone equally, and like my father says often, or used to, love with open arms because life happens. So
Yeah.
anyway, I appreciate you hanging out with me today and talking about Portland and a little bit of your story. And I'm sure I'll have you on 1 or 2 times, maybe 3 if you pay me enough.
Is this you kicking me off your show?
No, well,
Yeah.
at least for this podcast. So
All right. Well.
I appreciate everybody tuning in the future. We're going to have a lot more really awesome stuff for Portland. Everything from artists to business owners. We're going to do some deep dives into certain issues in Portland. Yeah, I'm really, really excited to kick this thing off. And I would say for the first go at this, we didn't do too bad.
We actually did. This was fun.
Yeah, awesome.
Do I get to do a mic drop now?
Well,
Can I drop a mic?
hold on 1 second, man.
Oh, hold on 1 sec.
Oh, all
There
right.
it is.
See you guys later. Have a good one.